Young girl mistakenly took the guy's luggage at the airport, not knowing he was a millionaire, and fell in love with her. The bustling airport terminal was filled with the hum of conversations, the distant crackle of intercom announcements, and the hurried footsteps of travelers rushing to their gates. Elena sighed in relief as she spotted the baggage carousel slowly coming to life, spitting out suitcases one by one. She adjusted the strap of her worn backpack, her eyes scanning for her black, hard-shell suitcase. After weeks of stretching every dollar on her dream trip to Europe, she was finally back home, ready to embark on the next chapter of her life. Tomorrow she would start her new job, and everything needed to be perfect. She spotted her suitcase, or at least what she thought was hers, rolling toward her on the conveyor belt. Without thinking twice, she grabbed it, wheeling it away with a satisfied smile. Meanwhile, a few feet away, Leo stood with his hands in his pockets, watching the same conveyor belt with his usual calm demeanor. His tailored suit set him apart from the crowd, though he preferred to keep a low profile. After a long business trip overseas, he was eager to get home, unwind, and get back to work at his multi-million-dollar company. His gaze sharpened as he saw a black suitcase identical to his glide-by. He stepped forward, reached out, and lifted it off the belt. Something felt off, the weight was different. Furrowing his brow, he opened the luggage tag attached to the handle. Elena Carter. Leo exhaled sharply, running a hand through his dark hair. He looked around, scanning the terminal for the mysterious Elena Carter, who had unwittingly taken his suitcase. His assistant had always told him to use a more distinguishable bag, but he'd shrugged it off. Now he regretted it. Stepping aside, Leo unzipped the suitcase to confirm his suspicion. Inside, he found neatly folded clothes, not the designer suits and business documents he had packed, but casual, practical outfits. Tucked into the side pocket was a well-worn travel journal with colorful stickers from various cities across Europe. He flipped it open, noticing sketches of landmarks, handwritten notes about local cuisine, and a bucket list with items like see the Eiffel Tower at sunset and try authentic Italian gelato. He smirked, amused. Whoever Elena Carter was, she had a sense of adventure. Pulling out his phone, he dialed the number listed on the luggage tag. Elena had just stepped outside the airport, feeling the cool breeze against her face, when her phone buzzed in her pocket. She frowned at the unfamiliar number but answered anyway. "Hello?" she said cautiously. "Hi," came a deep, calm voice. "I think we have a little mix-up here. You took my suitcase." Elena's heart stopped. She turned to look at the suitcase she had taken, and a sinking feeling washed over her. "Oh no," she whispered. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious," Leo said, amusement lacing his voice. "I'm holding a suitcase with your name on it right now." Elena groaned, mentally kicking herself. "I'm so sorry. I was in such a rush. They look exactly the same." "I noticed," Leo said. "Listen, how about we meet somewhere and exchange them? I assume you'd rather have your own things back." "Yes, absolutely," Elena said quickly. "Where are you?" "I'm still at the airport," he replied. "Want to meet at the cafe in Terminal B." Elena glanced at her watch. "Give me 10 minutes." "I'll be there," Leo said, ending the call. Elena sighed, dragging the unfamiliar suitcase back inside. 10 minutes later, Elena arrived at the cafe. She stepped into the cafe, glancing around nervously as the familiar hum of conversation and the scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. Her eyes darted to a quiet corner, where Leo sat casually scrolling through his phone. He looked even more composed than she remembered, dressed in a crisp button-down shirt and dark jeans, exuding an effortless confidence that made Elena feel even more awkward about their mix-up. Taking a deep breath, she walked over and cleared her throat. "Hey, Leo, right?" Leo looked up, his lips curling into an easy smile. "Elena, you made it." Elena placed the suitcase down between them and gave him an apologetic smile. "Yeah, sorry again for the whole luggage thing. I swear they looked exactly the same." Leo chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "No harm done. Honestly, it was kind of refreshing. My life could use a little unexpected adventure." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Right, because getting stuck with my overstuffed suitcase full of budget souvenirs and worn-out sneakers is such an adventure." He grinned. "Hey, those souvenirs say a lot about a person." Elena rolled her eyes, but a smile tugged at her lips. "Well, you're lucky I didn't take something valuable." Leo smirked knowingly. "Yeah, you probably would have been disappointed. Just boring business stuff in mine." She didn't notice the way his eyes sparkled with amusement as he said it, too caught up in unzipping her suitcase to double-check its contents. When she saw everything neatly packed inside, her travel journal, her favorite worn-out hoodie, and the little trinkets she'd picked up from street markets, she sighed in relief. "Everything's here," she said. "Thank God." Leo watched her fondly, intrigued by the way she inspected each item like they held deep meaning. "Your travel journal looked interesting," he remarked casually. "Lots of memories in there." Elena's cheeks flushed. "You peeked?" "Just enough to make sure it wasn't my stock reports," he teased. Elena laughed, shaking her head. "Yeah, it's full of little moments I don't want to forget. Traveling on a budget forces you to appreciate the small things." Leo leaned forward slightly, resting his chin on his hand. "I like that. Most people just rush through life without noticing the details." Elena's smile softened. "I guess I don't have the luxury to rush through things. Gotta make every penny count." She glanced at Leo's suitcase, and for the first time, noticed the expensive leather details, the high-end brand logo, and how pristine it looked compared to hers. "Your suitcase, though, it looks like it belongs to someone who doesn't need to think about pennies." Leo chuckled, brushing it off. "It's just a suitcase." Elena tilted her head. "And a pretty expensive one." She narrowed her eyes playfully. "What do you do, exactly? Finance, right?" Leo nodded, keeping his expression neutral. "Yeah, something like that." Elena didn't push further, assuming he was just another corporate guy with a good job. "Must be nice," she mused, "having a job where you can afford fancy suitcases." Leo shrugged. "Well, work has its perks, but it's not always as glamorous as it seems." Elena leaned back, crossing her arms with a smirk. "I don't know, Leo. You seem pretty confident. Like someone who has everything figured out." Leo chuckled, enjoying her straightforwardness. "Is that a compliment or an accusation?" "A little bit of both," Elena said with a grin. "I mean, come on. You're sitting here cool as a cucumber, like nothing phases you." Leo smiled but didn't answer right away. "Let's just say I've learned to stay calm under pressure." Elena shook her head, laughing. "Well, good for you. Meanwhile, I was freaking out about this luggage mix-up for the past 2 hours." Leo leaned back, observing her thoughtfully. There was something refreshing about Elena's honesty. She wasn't trying to impress him, she wasn't after anything, and she certainly didn't seem to care about the status or wealth that usually defined his world. "Well, I'm glad you didn't run off to another city with my bag," Leo said jokingly. "I was starting to think I'd have to track you down." Elena grinned. "Hey, I could have disappeared with all your boring business stuff." Leo smirked, tapping the suitcase lightly. "Yeah, and you'd have been sorely disappointed." There was a pause, a comfortable silence between them before Elena glanced at her watch. "I should probably get going. Thanks for being so chill about this." Leo nodded. "No problem." But hey, he hesitated for a moment before continuing. "If you ever want to swap more than just luggage like travel stories over coffee, let me know." Elena raised an eyebrow but smiled. "Are you asking me out, Leo?" Leo shrugged playfully. "Consider it an investment in interesting conversation." Elena laughed. "I'll think about it." As she grabbed the handle of her suitcase and turned to leave, Leo watched her go, feeling something stir inside him that he hadn't expected. She was different. She didn't know who he was, and for once, that felt like a good thing. As Elena walked out of the cafe, she found herself smiling. Maybe the luggage mix-up wasn't such a disaster after all. The next morning, Elena was still thinking about her encounter with Leo. There was something intriguing about him, his calm demeanor, the way he listened without judgment, and the mysterious air he carried. She had been hesitant when he casually suggested meeting again, but curiosity got the best of her. "What's the harm?" she thought as she checked her reflection in the mirror before heading out. At the same cafe where they first met, Leo was already seated at a corner table when Elena arrived. He looked up from his phone and smiled. "Elena, glad you came." She slid into the seat across from him, setting her purse down. "Well, I figured I owed you one for the whole luggage fiasco." Leo chuckled. "I wouldn't call it a fiasco, more like an unexpected adventure." Elena rolled her eyes but smiled. "So, Mr. Finance Guy, what's this meeting really about? You don't strike me as the type to just hang out with random strangers." Leo leaned back in his chair, his fingers lightly drumming on the table. "Honestly? You intrigue me. You're different from most people I meet." Elena raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Different how?" "Well," Leo said, taking a sip of his coffee, "for starters, you don't seem to care about status or appearances. That's rare in my world." Elena laughed softly. "That's because I don't have the luxury of caring about those things. I've been too busy trying to make ends meet. Leo tilted his head, interested. Tell me about that. Elena hesitated for a moment, but something about Leo's genuine curiosity made her feel at ease. I've been working a bunch of odd jobs while saving up to open my own cafe someday, she admitted. I've always loved the idea of creating a place where people can just be. A cozy, welcoming spot with good coffee and good vibes. Leo smiled. That sounds amazing. What's stopping you? Elena shrugged. Money, mostly. Starting a business isn't exactly cheap, and I don't want to get into debt. I'd rather take my time and do it right. Leo studied her for a moment, admiration flickering in his eyes. That's impressive. A lot of people wouldn't have the patience. Elena sighed. Patience is all I have at this point, but I know it'll be worth it one day. Leo tapped his fingers on the table thoughtfully. What if I told you I could help with that? Elena blinked, caught off guard. Help? What do you mean? Leo leaned forward slightly. I have some connections in the industry. Maybe I could introduce you to the right people, or even invest a little to get you started. Elena's expression shifted, a flicker of suspicion crossing her face. Why would you do that? You barely know me. Leo shrugged, his tone casual but sincere. Because I believe in people who work hard for their dreams. And because I like helping where I can. Elena shook her head, leaning back in her chair. I appreciate it, really, but I can't accept help like that. I don't want any handouts. Leo smiled, clearly expecting that response. It's not a handout. Think of it as a business opportunity. Elena's lips curled into a smirk. Nice try, but I'm not biting. I need to prove to myself that I can do this on my own. Leo's expression softened. That's admirable. She shrugged. It's just how I am. I've worked too hard to take shortcuts now. Leo nodded slowly. Fair enough. But if you ever change your mind, the offer's on the table. Elena gave him a grateful look. Thanks, but I think I'll stick to my slow and steady plan. For a while they sat in comfortable silence, sipping their drinks and watching people pass by outside the cafe window. Leo found himself more impressed with Elena than he expected. She wasn't just ambitious, she was determined and grounded in a way that few people in his world were. You're not what I expected, he said suddenly. Elena looked at him curiously. What did you expect? He chuckled. I don't know, but definitely not someone who would turn down free money. Elena laughed. Well, I like to keep people on their toes. Leo smiled, realizing how refreshing it was to meet someone who valued integrity over convenience. As they wrapped up their conversation, Elena stood and adjusted her coat. I should get going. Thanks for the coffee and the offer. Leo stood as well, offering his hand. No problem. And hey, don't be a stranger. Elena shook his hand, feeling an unexpected warmth from his touch. I won't. Maybe next time I'll let you convince me to take an easier route. Leo grinned. I'll hold you to that. As Elena walked away, Leo watched her disappear into the crowd, a small smile lingering on his lips. He had met plenty of ambitious people before, but there was something about Elena, her authenticity, her resilience, that made him want to know more. And for the first time in a long while, Leo found himself looking forward to the next encounter. Over the next few weeks, Leo and Elena found themselves meeting more often, sometimes by chance, other times by choice. Their conversations, once casual and light, had gradually grown deeper, revealing layers of their lives they hadn't expected to share with one another. One evening, as they sat on a quiet bench at their favorite cafe, Elena stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, staring at the steam rising from the cup. You know, she began softly, I don't usually open up to people like this. Leo leaned back, watching her with quiet curiosity. Why not? Elena shrugged, offering him a small smile. I guess I've always been too busy trying to survive to have time for connections. Leo's brows furrowed slightly. Survive? She nodded, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I lost my parents when I was 19. It was sudden, and it left me pretty much on my own. College, bills, rent, everything was on me. She let out a breath, staring at the table. I worked a dozen part-time jobs just to keep going. It wasn't easy. Leo listened intently, feeling an unfamiliar ache in his chest. That must have been tough. Elena nodded, her eyes distant. It was. But I learned to be independent, to rely on myself. That's why I have a hard time accepting help, even when it's offered with good intentions. She looked at him pointedly, referencing his earlier offer to invest in her cafe dream. Leo smiled gently. I get it. You don't want to feel like you owe anyone anything. Exactly, Elena said, relief washing over her that he understood. It's not that I don't appreciate kindness. I want to do things my way. Leo took a sip of his coffee, weighing his words carefully. You know, I admire that about you. Most people I know would jump at any opportunity to take the easy way out. Elena laughed softly. I guess I'm not like most people. Leo smiled. No, you're not. There was a pause before Elena spoke again. What about you? What's your story? Leo hesitated for a moment, carefully choosing what to reveal. You might think I have it easy, but having money doesn't mean having it all. Elena tilted her head curiously. What do you mean? Leo exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I grew up with everything I could ever need: private schools, luxury vacations, the whole package. But my parents were always too busy with their businesses to really be around. I was raised by nannies and tutors. Elena's face softened. That sounds lonely. Leo nodded. It was. And now, with the company, it's even worse. I can't tell if people actually care about me or just my bank account. Elena studied him for a long moment before saying, You know, you don't really act like a rich guy. Leo smirked. And how do rich guys act? Elena grinned playfully. Oh, you know, arrogant, flashy, throwing money around like it's nothing. Leo chuckled. Well, I do like a good suit. Elena laughed. I'll give you that. For a moment, they just sat there, enjoying the comfortable silence that had grown between them. Despite their different worlds, there was an undeniable connection forming, a sense of understanding that neither had expected to find in the other. One lazy Sunday afternoon, Elena curled up on her couch with a cup of tea, scrolling mindlessly through her phone. She had just finished another shift at her part-time job and was looking forward to a quiet evening. As she browsed through news articles and social media posts, a headline suddenly caught her eye. Meet Leo Hayes, the young millionaire behind Hayes Capital's billion-dollar empire. Elena nearly choked on her tea. Leo Hayes. She clicked on the article with trembling fingers, and there it was, his face smiling confidently in a tailored suit, the same man she had been spending time with over the past few weeks. Her eyes skimmed through the article frantically. Leo Hayes, CEO of Hayes Capital, a leading investment firm with a net worth that made her head spin. Philanthropist, entrepreneur, and one of the youngest self-made millionaires in the country. Elena sat frozen, the phone slipping from her grasp onto the couch. No way, she whispered, shaking her head in disbelief. The Leo she knew was casual, down to earth, and completely unpretentious. He wore regular clothes, cracked dry jokes, and never once acted like a man who could buy an entire city block without blinking. Her mind raced. Why didn't he tell me? Was he hiding it on purpose? What does this mean? A small knot of doubt formed in her stomach. Was their connection even real, or had she just been a project to him? But as she thought about the way Leo treated her, how he listened to her dreams, how he made her laugh, how he always seemed genuinely interested, her worry slowly melted into something else. He never acted like he was better than me. He never used his money to impress me. Elena's heart pounded in her chest. She had to talk to him. Later that evening, Elena texted Leo, asking to meet at the cafe. She sat at their usual table, tapping her fingers nervously on the surface. When he walked in, his usual charming smile appeared, but it faltered slightly when he noticed the serious look on her face. Hey, Leo greeted as he took a seat. Everything okay? Elena took a deep breath. Leo, why didn't you tell me? He blinked. Tell you what? Elena pulled out her phone, showing him the article with his face staring back at him. That you're this Leo Hayes. Leo let out a small sigh, running a hand through his hair. I was wondering when you'd find out. Elena leaned forward, searching his face. So why didn't you say anything? Leo met her gaze, his expression sincere. Because I didn't want you to see me as Leo Hayes, the millionaire. I wanted you to know me as just Leo. Elena stared at him for a long moment. I get that, but you should have told me. Leo nodded. I know. I didn't mean to keep it from you forever. I liked how things were. With you, I didn't have to be Leo Hayes, the CEO. I could just be a guy who enjoys your company without all the expectations that come with my name. Elena considered his words carefully. So, everything we've talked about, our conversations, our friendship, was it real? Leo leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm, every single moment. Elena's shoulders relaxed, and a small smile crept onto her lips. You know, for a second, I thought you were just playing some kind of game with me. Leo's eyes widened in mock horror. "Elena, I may be a businessman, but I'm not that good at deception." She laughed, feeling some of the tension ease. "So what now?" Leo exhaled in relief. "That depends. Are you still okay hanging out with a millionaire?" Elena grinned. "As long as you don't expect me to start acting differently." Leo chuckled. "I wouldn't have it any other way." She took a sip of her coffee, her eyes studying him. "You know, it's kind of funny. I thought you were just a regular finance guy. Now I find out you probably have a private jet or something." Leo laughed. "No jet, just a modest little penthouse." Elena rolled her eyes playfully. "Of course you do." Leo reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "Elena, I don't care about the money, and I don't want it to change anything between us. What I feel when I'm with you, it's real. That's all that matters to me." Elena's heart swelled at his words. "Good, because I don't care about your money either. I care about the guy who listens to my crazy dreams and doesn't laugh at them." Leo smiled. "I'd never laugh at your dreams, Elena." She squeezed his hand. "Then I think we'll be just fine." They sat there for a moment, the weight of Leo's secret now a bridge rather than a barrier between them. Over the next few days, Elena found herself reflecting on their conversation. While Leo's wealth was intimidating, she realized it didn't define who he was. What mattered was how he had treated her from the beginning, kind, genuine, and always with a touch of humor. One evening they took a walk through the city, and Elena couldn't resist teasing him. "So, do I get special millionaire perks now? Like free coffee for life?" Leo laughed. "Tell you what, I'll personally make you coffee every morning if that's what it takes to keep you around." Elena grinned. "Deal." And just like that, the wall of uncertainty that had momentarily stood between them crumbled, leaving only the promise of something real. A few days after their heartfelt conversation at the cafe, Leo and Elena found themselves sitting on a park bench, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The silence between them was comfortable, yet there was an unspoken tension lingering in the air. Leo could feel it. Elena had been distant, her usual playful teasing replaced by quiet contemplation. He finally broke the silence. "Elena, you've been thinking a lot lately? What's on your mind?" Elena sighed, fiddling with the hem of her sweater. "It's everything, I guess." She glanced at him, her expression conflicted. "Us, my dreams, your offer." Leo nodded slowly. "I meant it, you know. I want to help you with the cafe. I believe in you." Elena bit her lip, her gaze dropping to the ground. "I know you do, and that means a lot to me," but she hesitated, searching for the right words. "I'm scared, Leo. I've worked so hard to be independent. If I take your help, what does that say about me?" Leo reached for her hand gently. "It says that you're smart enough to know when someone who cares about you wants to support your dreams." Elena exhaled, conflicted. I don't want to feel like I'm relying on you. I need to do this on my own." Leo squeezed her hand reassuringly. "I get that, and I'm not trying to take that away from you." Elena smiled faintly but still looked unconvinced. Later that evening, Elena met up with her best friend Sarah for their usual late-night talks at a quiet diner. Sarah listened intently as Elena shared her fears about Leo's offer. "I get it," Elena said, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "I've always prided myself on standing on my own 2 feet. What if taking his help makes me feel less?" Sarah leaned forward, placing a comforting hand on Elena's arm. "Elena, independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means knowing when to accept help from the right people." Elena looked at her friend thoughtfully. "But what if things don't work out? What if I lose myself in this?" Sarah smiled warmly. "Then set your boundaries. Make it clear that this is your dream, and he's just there to support you, not take over." Elena sat back, considering Sarah's words. Maybe accepting help didn't mean giving up her independence. Maybe it meant allowing someone into her world, sharing her dreams instead of carrying them alone. The next evening, Elena found herself standing outside Leo's apartment, nervously shifting from foot to foot before finally knocking. He opened the door with a smile, but his expression shifted when he saw the seriousness in her eyes. "Hey," he said softly, stepping aside to let her in. Elena walked inside, taking a deep breath before turning to face him. "I've been thinking a lot about your offer," she said, "and I've decided I'll accept your help." Leo's face lit up, but Elena quickly held up a hand, on one condition. "Name it," Leo said without hesitation. "I want to run the cafe my way," she said firmly. "I'll take your investment, but I make the decisions. I need to prove to myself, not anyone else, that I can do this." Leo smiled, his admiration for her growing even stronger. Elena, I wouldn't have it any other way. I want you to have full control. I just want to be there to support you however you need me." Elena let out a relieved laugh, feeling the weight of her fears begin to lift. "You're sure you won't interfere?" Leo grinned. "Scout's honor." Elena stepped closer, looking up at him with gratitude. "Thank you, Leo, for believing in me." He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch gentle, always. In the weeks that followed, Elena threw herself into planning her cafe. With Leo's financial backing but without his interference, she felt empowered, excited, and, most importantly, still independent. He was there when she needed advice, but he never overstepped. One evening, as they walked through the empty space that would soon become her cafe, Elena turned to him with a smile. "You know, I was so scared that taking your help would make me feel weak. But it's the opposite. I feel supported." Leo slipped his arm around her shoulders. "That's all I ever wanted, for you to feel supported, not controlled." Elena leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder. "I think we're going to be okay, Leo." He kissed the top of her head softly. "Yeah, I think so too." And in that moment, Elena realized that love wasn't about losing herself, it was about sharing her dreams with someone who truly believed in her. The grand opening day of Elena's cafe arrived faster than she had imagined. The small but charming shop, nestled in a bustling neighborhood corner, was everything Elena had dreamed of, warm, inviting, and filled with the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The rustic wooden tables, hand-picked decorations, and the carefully crafted menu all reflected her hard work and vision. As she stood behind the counter, watching customers filter in, Elena felt a swell of pride in her chest. This was it, her dream, brought to life with perseverance, dedication, and, she had to admit, a little help from Leo. Speaking of Leo, he had been unusually quiet that morning. She had expected him to show up early, as he always did, offering his calm reassurance and light teasing. But there was no sign of him yet, and Elena couldn't help but feel a slight twinge of disappointment. Maybe he's busy, she thought, shaking off the feeling and focusing on the customers eagerly lining up to place their orders. A few hours into the day, just as Elena was wiping down a table, the bell above the cafe door jingled. She turned, and there he was. Leo walked in with a smile, and behind him were a handful of people Elena didn't recognize at first, but soon realized they were some of his closest friends and colleagues. "Surprise," Leo called out, his eyes twinkling with pride. Elena blinked in shock. "Leo, you didn't have to." "Of course I did," he interrupted, stepping closer. "I couldn't miss your big day. And I figured you'd want to show off a little." He gestured to the cafe around them, his smile widening. "This place looks incredible, Elena." Elena felt an unexpected lump form in her throat. She glanced at the crowd now enjoying their coffee, the laughter filling the space she had created, and finally back at Leo. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "I told you you could do this. And you did." Elena looked into his eyes, filled with so much pride and support, and realized just how much he had been her anchor through it all. Not by taking over, but by simply standing beside her when she needed it most. As the day wound down, Elena and Leo sat together at a corner table, watching the cafe bustle with life. The warm glow of the hanging lights, the sound of the espresso machine humming softly, and the happy chatter of customers made Elena feel like she was exactly where she belonged. Elena leaned back in her chair, sighing contentedly. "You know," she said, glancing at Leo, "I used to think success meant doing everything on my own. But I've realized, having someone to share it with makes it even better." Leo smiled, reaching for her hand again. "I think that's the secret to life, Elena. Finding the right people to share it with." Elena looked around the cafe, her heart swelling with happiness. "We make a good team, don't we?" Leo chuckled. "The best." She smiled, squeezing his hand gently. "I think we're going to be just fine, Leo." He leaned over, placing a soft kiss on her forehead. "Yeah," he murmured. "I think so too." As they sat together, watching the cafe come to life around them, Elena realized that this, right here, was her version of a perfect ending. Not just the cafe, but the love she had found in the most unexpected way. And with Leo by her side, she knew the best was yet to come. And just like that, Elena and Leo's story reminds us that love, dreams, and success are best when shared with the right person. Sometimes life surprises us in the most unexpected ways, whether it's through a mix-up at the airport or finding someone who truly believes in us. If you enjoyed this heartwarming story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories for more touching tales that will inspire and move you. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story that could warm your heart and stir your soul. Thank you for watching, and remember, love and dreams can come true in the most unexpected places. See you in the next story.